Hello, 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 Flyers fans. Aloha mahalo. This is Jamey Baskow coming at you once again. Man, we have an action-packed show today. I'm going to tell you a lot of stuff is happening in Flyerland, and you know what? With how passionate you all are, you already know what's going on. I'll tell you this: Jet Luchenko has made the team. He has made the team. Final rosters had to be submitted tomorrow at 5 p.m., and Jet Luchenko's name will be on it. He had his last audition yesterday. Dennis Gilbert was waived. He is the last cut. He was waived with the intent to send to Lehigh. That means the Flyers roster is now sitting at 23 players. So that means Adam Jennings, Noah Juleson, and Nikita Krebekin and Jet Luchenko have all made the team. And yes, that is the right thing to do, sending Noah Juleson and Adam Jennings and Igor Zamula to have 7D. It makes sense a lot. The reason is not one or the other shined more than the other. And that's what shocked me. It was very perplexing. Let me start there. Earlier in the week, Emil Andre was was sent to Lehigh. Just didn't make sense why he was a cut. Emil Andre was far better than all of the players that I just mentioned: Adam Jennings, Igor Zamula, and Noel Juleson, and Dennis Gilbert himself. Emil Andre was better than all of them. And this regime prided themselves on selecting the best player. The best player will play. And in this case, it didn't happen. Emil Andre was actually sent back to Lehigh. And that's what really had me perplexed. And I'm sure a lot of Flyers fans were in the same boat. They were probably perplexed as well, because this regime prided themselves, again, on selecting the best player. The best player will play. And in this case, it didn't happen. It was a shame why Emil Andre was sent back. It just didn't make sense, and it still didn't make sense to me on why he was sent back. But Noah Juleson, Adam Jennings, and Igor Zamula all get the nod, on opening night. Could they cut maybe one more like Adam Jennings, Noah Juleson, or Igor? Sure. But I think they're going to ride in with, 7. I think it's going to be a 14-8, 14-8, 13, 14, 7, and 2 is probably what the Flyers are going to roll, at least for the start of the week. Jet Luchenko, he's going to get at least a 9-game tryout. That's why they're going to carry 14 forwards. It all makes sense, and why Jet Luchenko would get a 9-game tryout. And with that tryout, you're going to see a lot of intermixing on the lines. You probably won't see definitive lines for at least the first week or two of the season. These lines were in influx a bit. It looks like what was happening throughout the majority of the preseason. Michkov was paired with Trevor Zegras. Not sure if that's going to stick or not, because Zegras was with TK yesterday and they popped like one another. He went back to the lines from the beginning of camp. Remember, Zegras and TK were paired together at camp, and they both knew where each other was. I think yesterday was sort of a preview to that. And I wonder if Rick Tocchet might pair, even though it's an off wing. I wonder if he would put Michkov, Zegras, and TK, or try to balance. He knows how important Matvei Michkov is to the Philadelphia Flyers and the growth of this team. I wonder if he actually would split them up and just have Krebekin on one side. Don't know who the center is yet, and Michkov, on the right wing, because Michkov and Krebekin were together as well through camp. It was Krebekin, Zegras, Michkov there. But it's going to be quite interesting to see the mixing and matching of the lines. We should see some of that tomorrow. The Flyers should be flying out probably tomorrow, to head to Florida. Yeah, they play Thursday, but to get some good practices under their belt and stuff like that, as a unit, do some team bonding out there. Usually like teams like to do, they like to go early. Because yesterday, that was a good preseason game. It was a good win for the Philadelphia Flyers. They're 3-4. And of course, they were an afterthought. It's preseason. There were bigger things going on in the city of Philadelphia, to include, Red October, with the fighting Bills. Of course, they fell in their first game to the Dodgers. Dodgers are a very good team. But, there were some other happenings, throughout. Of course, everyone's prepared, for the Lincoln Financial Field. There's just a lot. Temple was playing UTSA. Not that many people cared about the, Temple Owls, but I do, because that's my alma mater. That's why I had to bring them up, because they played at the Link. But yeah, there was just a lot happening in South Philadelphia yesterday. A lot of traffic and stuff. It's just good times, right? Tailgate, throw down a cold Modelo, or a Red Stripe. If there's any Jamaican people watching, Red Stripe, it's good beer. I'm telling you, it's a great beer. But yeah. But you saw Devo, Cates, Coots, and Mitchkov together, and that won't stick. But it's kind of cool to see Dvorak on the wing, because Rick Tocchet did mention that he might play wing or center. He would be intermixed, and that's why I'm saying you're going to see a lot of intermixing of lines. He's one of that. They have to find a way to get Christian Dvorak, who had a phenomenal preseason. Yes, and I will say that he had wherever Rick Tocchet placed him, he was producing. He had a really good preseason. I was pretty impressed. I was actually very happy he signed with the Philadelphia Flyers anyway in the offseason. I thought it was an underrated signing. A lot of people thought it was too much money. 1 year, $5 million. Really, $5 million today's day and age. We got to get used to the bottom pairing, bottom line guys, bottom pairing guys are going to get $5 million. It's inflation. So just get used to seeing more guys, more players signed for anywhere from $4 to $5 million per year for 1 year, even if they're just average players. I think that's going to be like the average salary. We have to keep in mind that, for one, the salary cap is rising, and it rises again and again this year. But two, inflation. So prices are going to go up here. So that was good. That was a good underrated signing. I liked it a lot. And Grebekin was with Cates and Brink. But, Tyson Forster didn't play. That would be Tyson Forster's spot. And that's why I'm saying I think that it would have been yesterday if Forster was playing. I think we could have seen like Grebekin, Coots, and Mitchkov. And that is the line that Rick Tocchet did start off with early in camp, was Coots down the middle of Mitchkov and Grebekin. And Coots really looked like at home until he was separated. I thought Coots had an okay preseason. When he was paired with Mitchkov, I think he played well. But if he loses Mitchkov, I don't see him pop as much. And that makes sense, right? I mean, Mitchkov is a heck of a player, a hell of a player. He's obviously the future of the franchise. They have to find a way to balance these lines with Mitchkov. Anybody who's paired with Mitchkov usually excels. And it's no shock that Grebekin, was a beneficiary of that and really helped him to have a good preseason and good camp. He came in with camp with one goal in mind, make the Flyers, and Mitchkov earlier in camp took him way before, actually about 2 or 3 weeks before camp, well before camp began. I'll say about a month before. Mitchkov took him under his wing, and it makes all sense that he would definitely make the Flyers. He gained about 15 pounds in the offseason, and good for him. And he really came in tip-top shape and was able to make this club. And I really see a line with Coots. I could see him sort of resurrecting his career, having maybe not get to the plateau, point plateau that he once had, but 50 to 60 points isn't out of the realm of Sean Couturier if he's paired with the majority of the season with Nikita Grebekin and Matvei Mitchkov. Mitchkov is going to have him excel. It's just going to happen. So, and then you saw Tippett, Zegras, TK, and that's why I said that could be a line to start the year. I could honestly see that line in some way, and that's Zegras and TK were paired earlier in camp, and there was obviously it was evident that there was chemistry. They're trying to get Tippett going here, and Rick Tocchet knows that how important Owen Tippett is to this team and the overall success of the Flyers. Yes, it's not based on one player, but an Owen Tippett could crack 30 to 35 goals. You have a better shot at making the playoffs. Owen will shoot from anywhere, and Tocchet knows that. He also knows he's speedy, and that is a pretty fast line there with Trevor Zegras and TK. TK is faster than what much people give him credit for, and he's more, I think he's underrated in the city of Philadelphia. I don't think he gets enough clout for all that he does. Travis Konechny is a phenomenal hockey player and a really good flyer, puts his heart and soul on every single shift. I think that this guy should be talked about in the city of Philly more. And obviously with the Flyers not making the playoffs, they're not as sexy to talk about them. But year in and year out, this guy goes out there and busts his ass. I mean, this is a guy that will hit anything, will talk a lot of game, try to get players off their edge, try to get them mentality-wise, try to get them focused on him rather than the overall game at hand. He's very good with that. He's very good with his words, whether you like it or not. TK is a hell of a hockey player, and I think he should be talked about more with the greats that have played, in the city of Philly. I think, when WIP came out with that top 10, list, I think, Travis Konechny should have been somewhere near there. Maybe not crack the top 10, but he should have been an honorable mention of some sort. That's how high I think of Travis Konechny. So the chemistry that he had with Trevor Zegers was shown throughout and shined throughout the preseason in camp. Then you saw Abels, Luchenko, and Garnett Hathaway. They have to figure out, this is where the twist comes in. It's important for Rick Tocchet to get Christian Dvorak, who has earned his ice time, more ice time. In the same token, they have to figure out how to get Jet Luchenko involved. They cannot, and he mentioned it in his presser after the game yesterday. He'll have a player sitting on a bench, and only play 3 or 4 minutes. He was like, I can't have that happen. I have to figure out how to get them more ice time. 3 or 4 minutes is going to do them more harm than good to keep Jet Luchenko with the team. That's why I see him getting a 9-game tryout and intermixing him. I can see, this is why I say the lines are going to be intermixed for at least the first 2-3 weeks of the season until they figure out what they want to do with Jet Luchenko full time. If he's not getting minutes, and I think Rick Tocchet was speaking heavily at that point to Jet Luchenko, straight to him, because he knows this decision didn't lie with Rick Tocchet. This decision to keep Jet Luchenko solely remained with the general manager Daniel Briere and the president of hockey operations Keith Jones. Those are the two people it lied with. Rick Tocchet didn't have a say at all. I firmly believe that. I don't have any sources to back it up, but this is the decision that will not be on Rick Tocchet's hand. This is a decision that will be made from Danny Briere and Keith Jones. And the Flyers are in a conundrum here because he's already plateaued with the Gulf Storm. Really, what more does he have to prove with going back and playing for the Gulf? I'd rather him go overseas and play in Europe rather than see him go play for the Gulf. And that's not a shot in the OHL. It's not a dig at that particular league. But the Gulf Storm aren't a very good hockey club. And what more does he have to prove to show that he is the man, that he can do it, when he's already done that with the Gulf for the past 2 years? I'd rather him go, maybe overseas, maybe play in the Swedish Elite League or something, loan him there, or, and I don't know if he would be willing to do that. Of course, there's parameters that, go involved in terms of the hockey contract, but the Flyers can loan him overseas. And I would like to see him play overseas in Europe. He's ineligible. Some people I've seen mention, why doesn't he play for, say, Michigan State or Penn State? For one, he can't. He has signed an NHL contract, and once you sign an NHL contract, you're purview to that particular league. You cannot be loaned to the NCAA. The NCAA is for amateurs without contracts. The moment that players or athletes in that particular league sign a contract, they have to play for said team. That's just the parameters and rules of the NCAA requirements to play in that particular league. So I'd like to see Jet Luchenko play overseas as opposed to OHL. And maybe that the Flyers behind the scenes are trying to work some magic, and that's why it's taken them more time, and that's why he will indeed get a 9-game tryout at the very least. I mean, with Christian Dvorak signing, that sort of put a monkey wrench into Jet Luchenko, because I had that feeling that Christian Dvorak, who is very familiar, who played with Rick Tocchet when he was in Arizona, and Rick Tocchet was the head coach of the Arizona Coyotes. Christian Dvorak knows Rick Tocchet's system better than other, and that's another reason why I'm going to get to Noah Juulsen, because Noah Juulsen played with Rick Tocchet in Vancouver with the Vancouver Canucks. It only makes sense that Noah Juulsen was going to make the team. One, Rick Tocchet is familiar with him, just like Rick Tocchet's very familiar with Christian Dvorak. Both of them were making the team the moment that they signed. They both know Rick Tocchet's system, and I bet you behind the scenes they are little going with the players and trying to tell them, what is Rick Tocchet is about and what his systems are like. That's why they signed here in Philadelphia. That's why the Flyers were high on both players in the offseason. And that's why the moment they signed, you had a feeling that both would make the lineup on opening night. And sure enough, they did. Now, the defensive pairings yesterday for the preseason finale was York Sanheim, which has always been, which has been throughout, the preseason, York Sanheim and Sealer and Drysdale. And I'm only saying the top four because that top four is the four that's going to stick at the moment. Now, is Nick Sealer a top four defenseman in the NHL? No, he's not. He's actually a bottom pairing. But the Flyers are a bit in influx here with their young defensemen. Unfortunately, Ethan Sampson got hurt earlier in camp and during a preseason game. I think it was the second one that he played in or third. I think he at least played in two. In the second preseason game, he got hurt. It was an upper body injury, and it's keeping him out 6 to 8 weeks. I firmly believe that Ethan Sampson would make this club over Adam Jennings. I'm convinced because Ethan Sampson was playing better at that point than Adam Jennings, Igor Zamula, Noah Juleson, and Dennis Gilbert. Ethan Sampson was also utilized on the power play, which means that Rick Tocchet thought highly of him. If he didn't think highly of him, he wouldn't have been on a power play on PP1 or PP2, which he did with the Prince George Cougars when he formerly played with them before the Phantoms. He was the power play catalyst for the Prince George Cougars, and he did well. And that's how he actually was drafted by the Flyers with that success. So he was starting to find his groove, and he got hurt. It's unfortunate because I really believe he probably could have cracked the opening night lineup. And that's why I say when he gets healthy, he'll be down there for a month with the Phantoms to watch a recall. It'll either be him or Andre. And I don't think the Flyers are high on Andre's size. We can say whatever we want about that. I just don't think that the Flyers are high on his size, and they wanted more size on the back end. And they're a little disappointed with Hunter McDonald, and he couldn't pop again at camp. This is the third camp for Hunter McDonald, and he still did not pop. So, but it is what it is. And the bottom pairing was Jennings and Noah Juleson, and that's probably going to be your bottom pairing to start. It's good for Igor Zamula. I'm still happy he's with the team because I still think he's a beneficiary for Mafi Michkov to get him adapted to the English language. So he still has some use, even though that he's not the player that the Flyers once thought when he once signed his ELC. He's very streaky. They'll have a good game and follow it up with a horrible game. And I honestly didn't see. I maybe saw one game where he was okay, and and the rest were horrible. The other night on not on Saturday, but on Thursday night, he had 3 or 4 turnovers right away, and I'm like, oh man, like you can't have all these turnovers. It's in the first 2 periods, and you turn the puck over, especially when you're starting to get to learn a new system. Yes, I understand that it is, preseason hockey. I get it. But, now you're starting to try to hone in. But, circling back, Mafi, to end this show, now that people know, the gist of the opening night lineup and what the Flyers are going to do and what their intentions are, it's good to know that the goaltenders and Sam Ersson played okay at the end there. I don't think he played very well. I wouldn't say, yes, he shined in the preseason there, but Dan Vladar did. And I think that Dan Vladar played very well and honestly played better than what I thought. So that was pretty – I thought he played very well yesterday in the 4-3 shootout victory. The majority of the goals weren't his fault. It's bad coverage, bad zone coverage. And that was the same for – Samuel Ersson too. There were those goals by Sam Ersson. Your head scratching. Wow, how did he allow that? Like the one from long distance the other night. But in any sense, I thought that Dan Vladar actually outplayed Samuel Ersson, and I think that I wouldn't say he's the starter because I think Sam Ersson's going to be the starter on opening night on Thursday against the Florida Panthers on October 9th. The defending champs will be without Barkov and Matthew Tkachuk. 2 big losses, but don't forget that they are still firepowered and they know how to win. So the Flyers better come out and play sound defense. That's what I want to see it defensively. I'm not even worried about the offense at that point. I just want them to I just want Sam Ersson to play well, have at least a good game, give his team a shot to steal a victory. And I say steal because yes, it would be a steal against the defending champs when they're raising another banner and they're hoisting the cup, and stuff. So it would be a steal. And that's what I want to see. I want to see sound defense, sound goaltending from Sam Ersson. As Sam Ersson lets in a few weak ones, I hope that Rick Tocchet, just says, okay, I'm throwing in Dan Vladar and let's see what he could do. Because getting off to a good start, a hot start, is very imperative for the Flyers to do for the overall success of their season. This first month is no joke here. They're playing tough playoff teams from last year after playoff team. This first month is a grueling schedule. Are they at home? Sure, but it doesn't matter. They have to get the ball rolling early. So I hope that Rick Tocchet says, all right, Sam, letting a few weak ones. I'm letting Dan finish the rest of the game, because it has to be imperative that the Flyers get off to a good start. Not only a good start in game, but a good start in general. I'm saying that I hope within the first four or five games, I'm hoping that the Flyers come away with 7 to 8 points in the first 4 or 5 games. They need that. It is imperative. This is going to be another tough Metropolitan Division that's wide open. I expect the New York Rangers to be better than they were last year. I expect the Jersey Devils to make a run again. I expect the Carolina Hurricanes, who has a great coach in Rob Brindamore and just a really good team in general, they're going to be the creme de la creme of that division again. And of course, you have the Devils, who have, the Hughes brothers over there. So, it's going to be interesting. Let's see how this all shapes out. It all starts Thursday night. Everything will make sense then. Till then, Flyers fans, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Going to try to do this show every Friday, and I wanted to do it today to get the final cuts. That's why it wasn't done on Friday. But I hope to have it done every Friday at 7:30 p.m. Trying to be consistent as possible for y'all. Flyers fans wrote that. They're very passionate, and I appreciate all the support you've given me in the past. Till then, love y'all. Go Flyers. Orange and Black podcast out.